Hi guys, this is Vaish from Vaishayes and we are doing our SHARMA series. So we completed chapter 21 and next chapter is chapter 22. In total this textbook has I think 27 chapters. Okay, so we are almost done with this textbook. Hopefully soon it will be completed. Please watch it in order because it's written in the form of timeline. It is not a randomly ordered textbook. It is fully in a correct order of the dynasties which occurred. Okay, so it's important you learn it in order. Always it's like history, you have to learn it in order. Okay, whichever, whether it's my Spectrum series or whether it is Satish Chandra series, anything, you have to watch it in order. Okay, then about the test series, queries have been coming in because I gave my WhatsApp number now. The queries have increased and it's much more comfortable for me to reply to you and help you in your preparation. Okay, so please make use of this availability, whatever is given, shared on the screen, or if it's like directly for enrollment and the payment details which we have not mentioned in our videos, you can email us at this vaishupsc@gmail.com. Okay, so both places I will be personally replying to you, so please drop an email or WhatsApp me for your queries. Okay, so we'll start with the chapter Harsha and his dynasty. Okay, so this chapter number 22. So Harsha's kingdom, the Guptas with their seat of power in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar ruled over north and western India for about 160 years. Okay, this is what we discussed all these chapters. Okay, now till the middle of the 6th century AD. So this is about Gupta. Then North India again split up into several kingdoms. The White Honas established their supremacy over Kashmir, Punjab and western India from about AD 500 onwards. Okay, so this is the split up which is happening and the new kings or dynasties which is coming up. So this decline of Gupta and all we have already discussed. Okay, North and Western India passed under the control of about half a dozen feudatories who parceled out Gupta empire among themselves. So these people, these feudatories, they were like again dividing this among themselves. Okay, this is actually one common reason which you can tell for any dynasty. Okay, whenever a dynasty is coming to end, what would have happened is the kings would have been like giving lot of land grants or some administrative officers, or they would become more powerful and finally they will carve out their own kingdoms. So that is how the big dynasties have come to an end. Okay, any dynasty which you take, ancient or medieval, this thing will be there. Okay, now gradually one of these dynasties ruling at Thaneshwar in Haryana extended its authority over all the other feudatories. The ruler who brought it was Harshavardhana, AD 606 to 647. So this is timeline, and if you see, I told you about feudatories and different kingdoms. So this person, he merged all these things into one under him. Okay, so that is why he is very important. He is not just one of the ruler among them; he is the most powerful among them. Now Harsha made Kannauj the seat of his power and therefrom extended his authority in all directions. During this period, Patliputra fell on bad days and Kannauj came in the forefront. So his capital now becomes in the forefront. So how did this happen? Patliputra owed its power and importance to trade and commerce and the widespread use of money. Tolls could be collected from the traders who came to the city from the east, west, north and south by means of 4 rivers. So they are telling how this is important. Okay, how the one place is going down and another place is coming up and all. So Patliputra's importance is because of this thing, the location. Okay, the different, it is like in the confluence of lot of rivers, and so a toll could be collected. But once money became scarce, trade declined and officers and soldiers began to be paid through land grants. The city lost its importance. Power shifted to military camps. Okay, Skandavara. So this is one term. I think it's not yet asked, so you can make a note. This Skandavaras means military camps. Okay, so this power shifted to the military camps. So money got over, land grants began, and power shifted. And places of strategic importance which dominated long stretch of land acquired prominence. To this class belonged Kannauj. So that is why Kannauj now became important. Okay, they are telling how Patliputra's importance was lost and how Kannauj came in the forefront. Now situated in Farrukhabad district of Uttar Pradesh, it shot up into political prominence from the second half of the 6th century. Its emergence as a center of political power from Harsha onwards typifies the advent of the feudal age in North India, just as Patliputra largely represented the pre-feudal order. So they are telling again the same thing, pre and post. Okay. Now fortification of places in the plains was far more difficult, but Kannauj was situated on an elevated area which was easily fortifiable. So again one more difference. Okay, because one is in the plains and one is on the hills, the fortification is different. Okay, now located right in the middle of the Doab means 2 rivers, it was well fortified in the 7th century. So to exercise control over both the eastern and western wings of the Doab, soldiers could be moved by both land and water routes. So it's like not only water, land routes and water routes both are there. The early history of this can be a question. Okay, for GS1, these people UPSC used to ask these kind of things. Why is Panipat important, or why is Gandhiji important? They take one place or one personality and they simply ask a 10 marker. So you should know like how Kannauj came over Patliputra. Okay, it's a very potential question in GS1. the early history of Harsha's reign is reconstructed from a Sanskrit of Banabhatta, who was his court poet and who wrote a book called Harsha Charita. Okay, so this court poet is also again very, very important for prelims. Okay, we actually have a revision chart itself where 10 rulers and the 10 the court poet is there in a table format. Whoever is enrolled to a prelims would have already got it. So this can be supplemented by the account of Chinese pilgrim Huan Sang, which we saw in the last chapter also, who visited India in the 7th century AD and stayed in the country for about 15 years. Okay, so that much elaborately he would have written records. Harsha's inscriptions speak of various types of taxes and officials. Harsha is called the last great Hindu emperor of North India. Okay, so if you see the timeline, it is 7th century AD. So till then, the Islamic religion is like it's just coming into picture. Okay, so after that, you know, the medieval age will start, Delhi Sultanate will start, and that is what we are covering in the Satish Chandra series. Okay, so that is how the timeline is. The last great Hindu emperor is Harsha, as per historians. Okay, so for his authority did not extend to the whole of the country, though he established his hold practically over the whole of North India except Kashmir, Rajasthan, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Orissa were under his direct control, but his sphere of influence spread over a much wider area. So most of the big places are under his direct control and others are like under his maybe governors or something. So it seems that the peripheral states acknowledged his sovereignty. His southward march was stopped on the Narmada river by the Chalukyan king Pulakeshin. This is a very, very important thing which is at least 3 times asked in prelims. Okay, so this he was stopped by this Chalukyan king Pulakeshin. Okay, this Chalukyas and all will come in later chapters, I think. So who ruled over a great part of modern Karnataka and Maharashtra with his capital in Badami in the modern Bijapur district of Karnataka. So this is about the Chalukya. Okay, Pulakeshin second it is, Pulakeshin second, and his kingdom in the Karnataka, Badami as capital and all those things. Okay. Except Harsha did not face any serious opposition and succeeded in giving a measure of political unity to a large part of the country. So that is why almost everywhere, everyone were reporting to him or were under him. Okay, subordinate to his kingdom. But only this Pulakeshin was the one opposition which he had to face. Actually, some inscription is also there related to that. So try to find out what is that inscription. Okay. Now Harsha administration. Harsha governed his empire on the same lines as the Gupta did, except that his administration had become more feudal and decentralized. It is stated that Harsha had 1 lakh horses, 60,000 elephants. This seemed to be astonishing because the Mauryans, who ruled over practically the whole of the country except the deep south, maintained only 30,000 cavalry and 9,000 elephants. So this is actually account about the Mauryas, and this 1 lakh and 60,000 mostly it will be by Huan Sang's record. Okay, and these Chinese people who whenever they have come and written records, it is like either exaggerated or it is too much unbelievable kind of figures. Okay, so we don't know whether it is true, but that is the written records which historians has as proof. So Harsha's thing is much more than Mauryas. Okay, so that is a statement which you basically can ask. Because we will be thinking like Mauryans ruled over larger area for longer time and all, so they will be having more, but it is the reverse way. Okay, Harsha is having more battalion and all these things. So Harsha could possess a larger army only if he could mobilize the support of all his feudatories at the time of war. Evidently, every feudatory contributed his quota of foot soldiers and horses and thus made the imperial army vast in numbers. Land grants continued to be made to priests for special services rendered to the state. In addition, Harsha is credited with the grant of land to the officers by charters. These grants allowed the same concession to priests as were allowed by the earlier grants. The Chinese pilgrim Huan Sang informs us that the revenues of Harsha were divided into 4 parts. 1 part was earmarked for the expenditure of the king, 2nd for the scholars, 3rd for the endowment of officials and public servants, and 4th for the religious purpose. So if you see 4 type of payment revenue things. Okay, so this is expenditure for the king, scholars, officials, and religious purpose. So if you have to write an answer about Harsha as such, I think a GS question won't come, but in history optional, these are important things which you have to mention, because this is something which is specific to Harsha. Okay, not found in other places, other kingdoms. He also tells us that ministers and high officers of the state were endowed with land. The feudal practice of rewarding and paying officers with grants of land seems to have begun under Harsha. This is natural because we do not have too many coins issued by Harsha. In the empire of Harsha, this also make a note, okay, not too many coins issued by Harsha. In the empire of Harsha, law and order was not well maintained. Okay, so again, negative things, it's very important, okay, because we will be thinking the other way. So make a note, coins are less and law and order is not well maintained. The Chinese pilgrim Huan Sang, about whom special care may have been taken by the government, was robbed of his belongings, although he reports that according to the laws of the land, severe punishments were inflicted for the crime. Robbery was considered to be the second reason for which the right hand of the robber was amputated. But it seems that under the influence of Buddhism, the severity of punishment was mitigated and the criminals were imprisoned for life. Okay. So they are telling the changes in society or the this thing. Okay, the law and order is not good, but in case if somebody has done something and he's caught, the punishments were very strict as per Huan Sang. But later when Buddhism came, it is again changing. Okay, it is changing to imprison for life and all. Now Huan Sang's account. The reign of Harsha is important on account of the visit of the Chinese pilgrim Huan Sang, who left China in AD 629 and travelled all the way to India. After a long stay in India, he returned to China in AD 645. Okay, he had come to study in the Buddhist University of Nalanda. Okay, this Nalanda, you know, the time of Guptas, Kumara Gupta was the one who started it. So obviously, after a few years, this few centuries, you can tell this Chinese person will come here to study. Okay. In the same name in Bihar, so the place, okay, Nalanda, to collect Buddhist texts from India. The pilgrims spent many years in Harsha's court and widely travelled in India. He vividly describes Harsha's court and life in those days. This account is much richer than that of Farshain. So this Farshain we have already learned, who came in the time of Chandragupta II. Okay, so how to remember this is FGH. It is an order. Okay, FG, that is Farshain, Gupta, same timeline. Then H is Harsha and Huan Sang. Okay, FGHH. So that is how alphabetic order is the same as the timeline order. So once if you learn that way, how much ever twisted UPSC question come, you will not forget that. Okay, FG and HH. So it shed lights on the economic and social life as well as the religious sector of the period. The Chinese account shows that Patliputra was in the state of decline, so was Vaishali. This Mahajanapadas and all we have already discussed. Okay, different Mahajanapadas, their capitals and all. So on the other hand, Prayag and Kanauj in the Doab had become important. The Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are reported to have led a simple life, but the nobles and priests had a luxurious life. Okay, so this is what is as per Huan Sang's account. Okay, this also can be a direct question like how did Huan Sang describe Harsha's kingdom? Okay, Huan Sang calls the Shudras agriculturalist, which is significant. In the earlier text, they are represented as serving the three higher varnas. So that is one very important difference. Okay, in all the other earlier timeline or earlier writings and all, what we find is this Shudras are considered as downtrodden and serving the other three varnas. But in Huan Sang's account, the Shudra is considered as a separate professional class itself, agriculturalist. Okay, so that you should know. The Chinese pilgrim takes notice of untouchables such as scavengers, executioners. So there is another class of untouchables also, such as scavengers and executioners. They lived outside the villages and took garlic and onion. The untouchables announced their entry into the town by shouting loudly so that the people might keep away from them. Okay, so that much prevalent was this thing, untouchability. Okay, it was very serious at the time of Harsha. Because UPSC can make a statement, okay, like it was a very peaceful society, or like it was like well maintained, law and order was maintained properly, there is no robbery, there is a efficient spy system. These are all things which were there in actually in the Mauryans time, I think, but in Harsha's it's all negative. Okay, now Buddhism and Nalanda. The Buddhists were divided into 18 sects in the time of the Chinese pilgrim. The old centers of Buddhism had fallen on bad days. The most famous center was Nalanda, which maintained a great Buddhist university meant for Buddhist monks. It is said to have had as many as 10,000 students, all monks. They were taught Buddhist philosophy of the Mahayana school. This Mahayana, you should know all these Buddhist council when it happened, and when Buddhism split into Hinayana and Mahayana. These are all well explained and it's well repeated also. UPSC keeps on asking about one sect or one this thing of Buddhism and Jainism every year. Okay, every year in prelims and means some question will be there. Although all the mounds of Nalanda have not been dug, excavations have exposed a very impressive complex of buildings. These buildings were raised and renovated over a period of 700 years from the 5th century AD. The buildings exposed by excavations do not have the capacity to accommodate 10,000 monks. So whatever is excavated, it's like it doesn't seem like it can accommodate 10,000 monks. But this person I told, he will always write, Huan Sang will write big figures. So they are telling 10,000 monks were there. So in 670, another Chinese pilgrim, Ai Tsing. Okay, so that is the order now. If you see again, it is alphabetic order, F, G, H, I. Okay, so Ai Tsing, he is the next person to come. So he mentions only 3,000 monks living there. This is reasonable because even if the remaining mounds are excavated, the buildings could not be so spacious to have accommodated 10,000 monks. So that is what explaining. He is explaining. So different people, different Chinese people have different numbers of figures. The monastery at Nalanda was supported by the revenues of 200 villages. Nalanda thus had a huge monastic establishment in the time of Harshavardhana. So in the Harshavardhana's time, this was in flourishing. Okay, that is the final takeaway. So Harsha followed a tolerant religious policy. A Shaiva in his earlier years, he gradually became a great patron of Buddhism. He held at Prayag a great assembly which was attended by all the tributary princes, ministers, nobles, etc. On the occasion, an image of the Buddha was worshipped and discourses are given by Huansang. At the end, Harsha made huge charities and he gave away everything except his personal clothing. Huansang speaks of Harsha in glowing terms. The king was kind, courteous, and helpful to him, and the pilgrim could visit the different parts of the empire. Harsha was a literary figure. He wrote 3 plays and he rewarded and patronized literary men. Banabhatta gives us a flattering account of the early years of his patron in his book Harsha Charita in an ornate style, which became a model for later writers. So, this textbook, I think only very limited information is given, but I remember in our prelims MCQs itself we have much more things. Okay, here also I think they have mentioned about some 3 books and all, but the names are not given. So those things and all in our test series it is there. So try to enroll to it so that you get more information. Okay, because there along with the question we are giving notes as well. In the solution document it will be written notes as well. So try to get that so that you get much more information. Or if you have already learnt it from some other textbook, then that is fine. So that's about Harsha. They are telling the societal level and things and all. There were negative things, but this Huansang have told a much more elaborate and much more good kind of version about him. Okay, so that is about Harsha. And some questions again discuss the achievements of Harsha. How did Harsha administer his kingdom? What light does the account of Huansang throw on Indian life? Describe society and religion. So it's again whatever these 3 pages we saw, the same thing in the form of questions. So if you can answer these things, or if you can make notes according to these questions, then that is what you need for your UPSC preparation. Don't worry like I have to read 10,000 other books or specific books and all, or specialized books and all. This NCERT's RS Sharma, Satish Chandra spectrum, this is all you need for basic knowledge. And how much ever you learn, UPSC is an exam where they can still make a question which you cannot answer. Okay, that is the dynamism of UPSC. So don't worry about that. That will be you can overcome that when you practice answer writing. So try to enroll to any test series. If ours you find it good, you join ours, else join anything, but please write answers, and before December or January you should have written at least 200-300 answers covering the entire syllabus of UPSC, else your preparation is in a wrong track. That I can assure you. Okay, everyone has this misconception that we'll keep learning for prelims. I'll clear my prelims first and then I'll focus on mains, or I will learn the complete syllabus and then only start answer writing. These are all the things which are repeatedly making students to fail every year. Okay, you should know about UPSC that 10 lakh people are applying and only 100 people in a year can become an IAS. Okay, so what is the ratio? It is like 0.01% people will clear. So why? Because those people who cleared, okay, that 100 people have did all these things which I am telling you now. They have written answers, they have completed the syllabus much ahead of prelims, they know everything even before prelims. Okay, they are ready for their interview itself even before the prelims date. That is the level of preparation you need. Don't think you have time till 1 year. Only in 6-7 months, if you can complete everything at this pace, at this quality, then you are actual UPSC aspirant or UPSC material, I can tell you. Okay, so hope you will think over it and then decide about your preparation strategy of how it is going on and change accordingly. Okay, so I'll come with the next chapter soon. Till then, thank you. Enjoy your learning. Have a nice day.